Welcome, everybody. I'm joined by Katura from the Lord of the Rings Players Council, and we wanted to chat about the World Championships coming up for Lord of the Rings TCG. We want to talk about some new virtual sets. We're going to head on sort of the new Magic Lord of the Rings set, what we think it's doing for the community. I think we have kind of a fun discussion ahead of us, but I think the biggest topic is you guys are putting on the first World Championship in how many years? Let's say it's 15 years.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time. The Star Wars CCG, their players committee actually ran a Lord of the Rings Worlds in 2010, which a few people showed up to that and did compete. But there hasn't been anything homegrown since Decipher last ran it in I think 2007, 2008. So it's been a long time.
So I just
This
want to say,
was
tip of the hat to you guys. Like, it is not easy to start something new. It is not easy. I'm sure it's a lot of time and love spent on this stuff. So I just want to tip my hat to you guys. I think the work that they're doing. By the way, if people on want to connect more with the Lord of the Rings PC, we're going to share a bunch of resources, website, Discord. I think we've done similar things, but for new viewers, it's a really good organization. They're always looking for playtesters. If it's your dream job to be a playtester, you can absolutely do that in your free time. So, do you want to talk Worlds though? This is a big deal.
Yeah. So Worlds, it's something that we've had to basically create from the ground up. Unlike some other communities where maybe there's some existing running traditions, there are very very few events that get ran by the community. There are a few. There's one that the French run. They have a French championship, and I know that the Brazilians run a world championship every year. But they're kind of scattered and localized, and nothing really global. And so we decided that this was the year. This was back last year, actually, around Christmas time, that we said this is going to be the year that we'll finally just start building up a framework for this, and maybe hopefully that'll encourage people to run their own events that can funnel into the World Championship, and this can just be the way that things go from here on out. But so there's been a lot of growing pains and a lot of things we've had to learn and study to try and figure out. But I think we've got a system that will work. Um, so our World Championship is going to be in October. Specifically, if we want to pull out just the dates, just so that gets into people's heads, the two events that make up the World Championship in October will be on Saturday, October 14th, and on Saturday, October 21st. So those will be back-to-back weekends where we will be first running a group stage where 64 invitees will be playing for the top spot, and then the top 8 from those 64 will come together into a head-to-head knockout tournament, and they will compete for prizes and ultimately the title of being called the world champion.
Question for folks that might want to watch some of this, whether it's on Twitch or YouTube. Are you guys going to have sort of a YouTube or Twitch going for some live commentary?
Yep, that is something that we're actually trying in the process of trying to get set up. There are a few people who have volunteered to give it a shot. We would like to have live commentators, although they may not be broadcast live because there's cheating issues that we have to deal with. So we will probably record everything live and then broadcast it again, like shifted by 24 hours or something, so that people can see what happened as it happened, and keep things under wraps until those broadcasts are made. And so if that's something that you think you'd be interested in, if you'd like to stream games, if you'd like to commentate on games, we would love to have you. So reach out and let us know. And we don't have anybody like set in stone on this. So it's definitely an opportunity to do something if that's up your alley. And so we are planning to to do it that way, to have those recordings go out. The event will take a while. So it's going to be about 6 hours on the first weekend and 6 hours on the second. And if you have not already earned an invitation throughout the year, because we have handed out invitations through our various weekend leagues that we've been doing month to month, there will also be a walk-on qualifier that will be ran on various weekends in September. And so those will be an event that you can join up with. That will take a minimum of a couple hours to do, depending on how many people attend each event. And so that's something to keep in mind if that's something that you are looking forward to doing.
So, quick question: what format is this going to be in for the actual tournament?
So we're going to be splitting it between two different formats. We are going to be utilizing the PC version of Fellowship Block and the PC version of Movie. Those are going to be our two main event formats. So over the course of the group stage, it's going to be a combined Swiss tournament. And so what's going to happen is you're going to have 4 rounds of PC Fellowship, and then 4 rounds of PC movie, which means that yes, you're going to have to come with 2 different decks. You won't play them simultaneously or anything, but you will have to, or you won't be alternating necessarily is what I mean. But you'll start with one and then move on to the other, and then in the course of the championship tournament. So the tournament itself is going to be a double elimination bracket. And if you're not familiar with those, that means that you have to lose twice before you are knocked out of the tournament, which means that there's going to be an upper bracket where the winners are, who are undefeated, who have not yet taken a loss, and then the lower bracket or the losers bracket. And so the way that we are currently setting it up, although if you have opinions on this, please let us know, is that you are going to be running PC Movie in the winners bracket and PC Fellowship in the lower bracket. So if you drop a game in Movie, then you move back to Fellowship PC, and then you stay there until the final round. Now the final round between the final 2, the top 2, who will be the world champion and what we're calling the world challenger, the person who made it all the way to the end. Those matches will be PC Movie. So the very final, apex here will be PC Movies. That is probably the more important of the 2 decks, but you do have to have both.
Well, very cool. You want to talk a little prize support? I feel like you've got some.
Sure. Yeah. So I have some of the physical prizes here, and I'd also like to give a shout out to Card Game Geek and Category 1 Games. Both of them have graciously offered to sponsor some of the prizes. And here on the page, which will be linked in the subscription in the description, you can see down here that there are several of these prizes that are going to be handed out from them. There's going to be a sealed booster box for the champion, and then another box that's going to be broken up and distributed between the other individuals in the top 8. There will also be a number of door prizes that will be handed out to people that go to the walk-on qualifiers and the group stage.
And it is free to enter. Is that correct? Assuming you qualified, is free.
So actually, no. We will have to be charging just because there's going to be a lot of stuff to ship, and so we need to defray the cost of shipping a little bit. So to enter to enter the group stage, you will have to have 2 things. You will have to have your invitation, and you will have to have a championship ticket, which we are going to be, which is going to be $5, $5. So what we are going to be doing here very soon is we're actually going to be running a donation drive, and we are going to go through the community and see if anybody will be willing to donate for those tickets. And so if you are unable to use PayPal, or you are unable to afford the $5 or whatever, depending on where you are in the world, then there will be a pool of donated tickets that you will be able to claim. So hopefully it will not be a financial burden to anybody, but we will also be able to manage to get the payments for the shipping, because there's going to be a lot of stuff to ship, and we ended up doing some back of the napkin math, and that's going to be more than a little bit richer than any of us are able to just swallow.
Completely understand. Did you want to show off? I think you have some physical stuff with you. Do you want to show that off?
Yes. So let me first show off that we have a number of these DJ made T-shirts that have been handed out or donated to us. So we have probably about 16 of these that will be available. Individuals who make it to the top 8 will be able to get their pick, and then all the rest will be handed out. First come, first serve, or first win, first served, I guess is how it'll go down. And then we also have a series of plaques that have been made for us. So we have let me put this up here. So we have a world champion and a world challenger that'll go out. And then if you make it to the top 8 besides them, you will also get a competitor plaque. So we have 6 of these that'll go out to the other individuals of the top 8. And then if you make it to the top 2, if you are the challenger or the champion, your trophy is actually going to be...
I feel like I know what this is, and I'm coveting it. I'm coveting it myself.
So it's a little bit unglued at the moment, because you'll see in a moment. So I have posted pictures of these before, but these are the deck boxes that have been made for us by, I hope I can pronounce his name right, Wojtek. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name, but he made them for us. Hang on, I need to. There we go. So the lids do actually fit. I just hadn't actually glued this particular piece together. So as you can see here, this is the pieces that would be used for the world challenger. There are different custom sides for the different cultures. We have a bunch of prepared versions, all the different culture versions. What we are planning on doing is customizing it according to the cultures that are used in your final deck, whatever deck made you get there to the top. And so you will have a customized trophy that matches, and ideally we'll be able to fit, a deck pretty well in there too.
So like 60 cards sleeved, roughly speaking.
Probably a little more than, well, hopefully more than that, because you need 71 cards just to have a legal deck with the
That's right. Yeah, with the
sites and
sites.
So I did do some testing. You should be able to fit at least 60. I'm hoping you can get as many as like an 80 card deck in there. But yeah, so
yeah, I think that's like 80 is a good number. But that's awesome. I just want to say that that's a very thoughtful prize. Especially customizing sort of what decks you used. It's a very nice touch. I'm coveting some of those boxes. I saw the guy selling them. They're, let's just say, a very good prize. So it's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else in the World Championship? So we got our dates circled. We're coming back to the website here. It is October 14 for the actual event and the qualifiers. So this is not full yet, right? So you can still qualify if you listen to this.
Correct. Yes. There's going to be 64 total slots. And of them, we have handed out, I want to say, 8 or so invitations. By the time of the walk-on qualifiers, about 12 or 15 of them will be taken. So there'll still be a good 40 some odd slots that will be available for those walk-on qualifiers. So the walk-on qualifiers do require a ticket as well. I don't know if I made that clear before, but we will get that all situated and hopefully have that invitation pool available so that people can get the claim tickets if they need it. And those will be running in weekends in September. There will be both US-based time zone events and also EU-based time zone events, so that people aren't necessarily needing to stay up too late for those. And this month in August, we have what we're calling the Format Championships. And so these are just going to be Swiss tournaments that are ran on GEMP. We have the 3 PC formats: PC Fellowship, PC Movie, and PC Expanded. And then we are also doing 3 Decipher-based formats. We have Decipher Fellowship, Decipher Movie, and then we've gone with Towers Standard because regular Expanded is, well, it's even more of a mess than PC Expanded is. And so you'll be able to come on during those times and compete your way through other people that will be there for competitive reasons. It's going to be 3 to 6 rounds of Swiss, depending on how many people sign up for each individual event, which we're not going to know until the day of. So that'll take about 2 to 4 hours. We are going to be restricting it to 30 minutes per game to try and keep things flowing quickly, so that, again, the event doesn't take forever. But that will be on GEMP, and the winner of every one of these events, so all 6 of these, the person who comes in first will receive an invitation. And so that's
if first place already has an invitation, you're gonna send it to second place, just out of curiosity.
Yes, yeah. For these ones, we will just pass it down the line because some people have already played through the weekend leagues, and so they'll have already earned their way in. So in that case, we'll pass it down.
Very cool. Before we move on to V decks and sort of new V cards, anything kind of final thoughts with the World Championship, which everybody, strongly recommend participating. This is really cool. You guys are doing this first time in, let's say, 15 years, 13 years. So major props.
Yeah. I mean, just we really want to hear people's feedback on this. We listened to quite a bit months ago when we were trying to come up with what the format should be and how the organizations should be structured and all that kind of stuff. But things aren't necessarily yet set in stone. So if you see a major problem with what we told you here that you think is really gonna be an issue, let us know and we'll try to fix this. We really want this to be the best event that it possibly can be, and ideally we want this to be the first of many to come. So if we can get off on the right foot, I'd definitely like to do that.
That's awesome. Okay, do you want to talk V cards a little bit? So you guys have done a virtual set 1. I hear virtual set 2 is in the works.
Yep. So we're currently working on virtual set 2. We are woefully behind from our original schedule because the original plan was to do V1 for Fellowship, V2 for Towers, and V3 for King. And we were hoping to get each one on the 20th anniversary of the various movies as they came out, but we missed on V2. So that is, I guess, just not going to be a pattern we're going to follow anymore. But so for V2, it is still focused more or less on concepts that are based around the 2 towers. So there's a big, heavy focus on Rohan and a focus on Isengard, because those are kind of the 2 big cultures of that movie. And so just like with V1, we are trying to perform some adaptation of various concepts that Decipher missed, or just didn't get around to, or even just giving it a different spin. One of the big ones that we're doing is focusing on those elves that are in Helm's Deep, even though that's not really a book concept, it is still very much a mechanical concept. A lot of elf decks are based more around your green leafs and your Galadriels and so on, and we wanted to try and make sure that the Ninth elves have more of a strategic use in the game. So we're going to be giving them. We're actually going to be doing a bigger errata batch that is based around making sure that they're buffed up. And one of the things we're going to be doing is giving them all the Valiant keyword and make them work a little closer with Rohan cards. So one of the things I wanted to show off is some of the work that we're doing on some of the imagery, for instance. Whoops. So one of the cards that we're going to introduce, this is one of the ones I'd like to spoil, is Erkenbrand. There is already an existing Erkenbrand that was done by Decipher. Uh-oh, did we lose you?
No, still here. Still
okay,
here.
Sorry, heard a beep. So Decipher did have an Erkenbrand card, but nobody uses it. So we were going to try and revisit the concept a little more. For those who aren't in the know, Erkenbrand was pretty much cut out of the movie, and his role was replaced with Eomer. So he's supposed to be the guy that comes down the hill with the big army and saves everybody at the Battle of Helm's Deep. So what we've done here is we've created a companion that does something very similar, where when he comes in at the last minute, he's cost of 5, so you can't start with him. But once you do play him, then he will kick out companions from your dead pile and allow you to play more. So just when you thought that you were on the edge of defeat, he can come in and help you out. And so there's concepts like this that we're trying to do. I'm actually looking forward to some of the imagery that we have available. This particular image is from one scene in the Two Towers where they left a stand-in for Eomer. Carl Urban was out that day, and so they just stuck someone else there on the horse and then forgot to digitally replace his face. So we took that image and we AI upscaled it and we tweaked it a bit, and so we're really happy with that process and how it turned out. So I think that there's going to be a lot of interesting images that we're going to be able to take that are based on, just a little bit based in the movies, and then kind of grow them out and get something that still looks like it could have been in the movie, in spite of it actually being.
I love that approach. So I'm curious, is this the only card you want to spoil? Is there anything else here?
Let's shoot. I did have a list. Oh, well, let's just do another one, another Rohan one.
Sure.
So one of the big problems with Rohan is that they don't have any dedicated ring bearer, right? One of the reasons for this is because Decipher followed a policy of only making ring bearers for people that physically could have taken the ring. And, well, Frodo never met Eowyn or Theoden or anyone until after everything was said and done. So one of the things that we're going to do here is that we're going to introduce this card, a Royal Attendant. It is the idea here is that this is somebody that is ordered by Theoden to keep a watch on Merry as he's going about. But because of the way that we have worded it, it is intentionally going to work with any Hobbit companion, which could be Frodo, your ring bearer. And so the idea is Royal Attendant can swoop in and help Frodo to bolster him, give him strength, and keep him alive a little easier. And so that with this, you could build your Rohan deck with the Frodo stuck in and still have a little bit of ring bearer support, which is something that is lacking in movie for Rohan. But
great.
Yeah, so little things like that are really what we're trying to focus on, is trying to take those cultures that have things that are missing and add them in, whether it's thematic, like Erkenbrand is, or more mechanical like this is, and give them a home.
So I like this approach where you're keeping the formats the same largely. You're just improving on broken cards rather than, I think the Star Wars PC is just adding in new virtual sets that are essentially just changing the format of the game, right? But this seems like it's more so tweaking favorites rather than adding in, new characters from, I don't know, The Hobbit, for example, or something.
Well, we do have ambitions to do that eventually. We have some ideas of what need to happen, though. One of the big things that we have to be careful of is that this game is very tied to the One Ring at the moment. And so we do have plans for breaking that association a little bit and making it possible to have a main character that is not so heavily tied to bearing the One Ring. So keep a lookout for that, but that probably won't be until V3 or later. But
I love that idea. All right. Well, I think our last sort of topic I want to chat about is just sort of community growth. I feel like since we talked about, 9 months ago, it seems like the community's seen some a large increase in sort of collectors, I wasn't sure if also players, I guess, just describing the state of the community a year, how's 2023 been? I think a lot of other collecting communities have shrunk a little bit. It seems like Lord of the Rings is the opposite. Am I correct there?
Collecting wise, it might be. I don't have quite a good a finger on the pulse for that. Play wise, I think there has been a little bit of a decline. Looking back at the numbers, just the number of games that have been played on GEMP, there's kind of a slow and steady decrease. We're down to about 6,000 games per month now, whereas we peaked at around 8,000 in November. Now, if you look back even further, there is kind of this natural up and down
Mhm.
throughout the year, where more people play during the holidays and fewer people play during the summer. So that part of it is just that. But the numbers are, dipping down further too. I think a lot of it is people got their fix during the pandemic. They got what they wanted, and they've moved on through their multi-year long cycle. And I'm sure in a little while we'll start to see a lot of them slowly cycle back in as they remember the game again. This is just kind of an ongoing cycle that has been the way ever since the game has died. So it doesn't surprise me. But we are kind of hoping that with things like the World Championship and releases of more V sets and stuff like that, we're hoping that we can introduce more content to allow people to feel like they can stick around a little longer, so that they have more stuff to dig into and more stuff to prepare for, and stuff like that.
So I just want to say, like, I hang out in a lot of these out of print game communities, and rarely are they actually communities, right? It's more like here's one board that has 10 games featured on it, kind of thing. And I think I really like what you guys have done. Like the Discord is pretty active, the Facebook is active. Like, yeah, it's not hundreds of posts every day, but it is regular, whether it's buy, sell, or deck ideas. So I think that the health of the game is so much more. It feels more robust than when I joined in like 2020, and there's maybe 900 people in the group or something, a Facebook group, and now there's 3,500 plus. And I think
A lot,
that
we can't take credit for all of that. A lot of that is either inherited from the existing GEMP and Last Homely House communities that existed before we came along, but a
sure.
lot of it has just been people realizing that they can search for Lord of the Rings on Facebook or whatever, and find their way there. But I hopefully our efforts are having an effort toward having an impact on that.
I
One
also
of the
think that. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say one of the things that I wanted to focus on ever since starting the PC was that we do have to try to build up the community, not just attract all the people that used to play the game, but try to make it bigger. And that's been one of the reasons why I focus so much on improvements to GEMP, and try to get a pipeline for new cards and new content and so forth, so that we have something we can point to when we go to other Lord of the Rings communities that are not card based, and say, hey, come play this game that already
Mhm.
has these characters from this movie and from the story that you guys love, and come join us. Like that's an initiative I want to take, but I feel like there's some steps that are still kind of missing before we can really do that without
Yeah, I think there's a sort of framework and infrastructure you want to build out with that, and I think that
yeah.
you guys are building that, right? I
Mhm.
think even 3 years ago, if you Googled this game, you'd get a much less interesting wiki, you'd get much less robust groups. I think you'd even find like harder time finding the stores and places to buy it. So it feels like even just creating that footprint where it is now findable on the internet.
Yep, and that's putting down a rally flag was our very first goal. Just if nothing else, it's a place that people know they can turn to, that they can
Yes, and
that they
sort
can
of
start
leaving
coming.
the breadcrumbs out. Like that's what I try to do with all my videos, right? Like if people want to find this, I just want to have a wealth of information that you can figure out how to navigate this stuff. Here are the resources you need. But I kind of last topic here. I feel like right now the new Lord of the Rings Magic expanded universe is very in the news. I'm curious if you think that that's sort of brought in just if there's 40 million Magic players, even if only 0.1% stumble across this game, that's still math is hard. What 4,000 people or something?
Yeah,
That's still
I no, it definitely had an impact. We had, especially in before it was released, just people hearing about it and either remembering that this game existed or doing a Google search and just kind of stumbling their way towards us. We had lots of people that said, "Oh yeah, I heard about the Magic thing and I came to stumbled on this and I wanted to see what it was." So it's definitely driven some people towards us. It's Yeah, I mean, it made worldwide news when they were talking about the whole, one of one ring, and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice that it's been in people's minds. I don't know that there was a whole lot for us to capitalize on except to have a net ready to catch people when they came in. But I like to think that we've built up something that's, appealing when they do find us.
yeah, I agree as well. I think the advantage this game has as well is you can learn to play this in 20 minutes, and I think the barrier to entry for games like Star Wars TCG is just more than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Just to be honest, right? Like you could, like, obviously there's complexity and there's more to learn, but you know, right now you can figure the game out in 25 minutes, 30 minutes versus something like Star Wars or Star Trek, which is, you know, multi-week adventures.
And that's something I actually want to continue improving on. We have some old tutorials, but as we've improved GEMP, even a lot of them are out of date with the new features and stuff that are in there. So one of the things that we need to do is start having kind of like micro tutorials. I want to have a playlist of individual things, like this is how you build a deck, and this is what sites are for, and this is this is the things you should consider for just building your fellowship and all that kind of stuff, and make it so that it's something that we can point people towards, and even host in GEMP itself and say, hey, you want to watch a video about this thing that you're asking a question on? Here it is. And so once again, if that's something that sounds appealing to any of you listening, come on, like we've got all sorts of low-hanging fruit that we just can't pick fast enough because we just don't have enough people just looking at it yet. There's so many things to juggle, but you don't have to do everything. If this is one thing that sounds interesting to you, then come join us. There's not a very high barrier to entry, so
yeah. And I think anyone that worries about cost of cards, this game is still, like, most rares are still 25 cents, right? You know, you get into foils, you get into other stuff, yes, but you can make a viable deck for, you know, not an insane price. You know, I'm not saying the meta deck, but you don't need to spend a ton of money on cards, and you know, virtual is obviously free as well. So
yeah, as I tell everyone, GEMP is free. So
yes,
I say that's the place to start.
And you've loaded in more decks as well, so there's more, you know, starter decks, just easier.
Yeah. So we've added the deck library. We've added the ability for you to just jump in and start all the starter decks. There's several old World Championship decks that are already in there. So there's fully functional decks that took people all the way to the top. So there's a wealth of things to begin with. You can start your game 5 minutes after you make your account. We've tried to grease the wheels on that.
So I think that's kind of my final thoughts here. I'm really excited for the future of this game. And once again, I'm appreciative as a bad player and a collector that you guys are just sort of keeping things going, keeping the lights on in sort of a structural way, which I think is really important. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of people like chasing foils. And I think there needs to be more to this game. It deserves more than just a bunch of people hoarding foils. So I'm really happy that you guys are doing that and serving that purpose.
I really agree. This is that was exactly what Kralik used to do back in the day, because he had set up the last Homely House, and then against all odds kept the site open for 15 years. And then Marson came along and he made GEMP in 2012 and just kept the lights on forever. So that's always kind of been the tradition that I pulled from, is this game. So there's always somebody keeping the lights on. So now we're here, you know, with that responsibility, but also trying to push things forward too.
Well, so far so good, guys. Well, I'll leave a link to everything we kind of chatted about in the video description. This has been a lot of fun. Feel free to reach out to either of us. If you want to volunteer, just join the PC Discord, and lots of ways to connect with folks. They don't bite. They're actually pretty nice people.
And come play in the World Championship.
Absolutely. Can't say it more.
Slots. That's a lot.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch everybody next time. Leave thoughts, comments, and et cetera in the notes down below.